Java Habits here, recording another voiceover for another training log, and we're almost at the end of the training rotation. This is recording of flexibility play date that I do on Thursdays. I've been incorporating more movement into that practice than I usually would. So next time, hopefully, I'll showcase some more movement variability. And yeah, no subscribers to thank, unfortunately. And shortly, we will go into the weekly scatter thoughts portion, which was quite big this time around. It was hard to start writing, but once I did, a lot of it came out. Yeah, these towel one arm hangs are really tough. I'm close to being able to actually perform them without feet assistance, but at this point in time, I still do need it. And I really want to be able to do them without any form of assistance. They are pretty badass and they take a lot of grip strength. Then we move on to these Pilates ball. What would I call these? I don't know, like neck curls, I guess. I put the plate in a towel just because it's getting kind of rusty with time, and it's just more comfortable to have a fluffy towel instead of just a rusty, disgusting plate on your forehead. And yeah, the Pilates ball is quite a nice touch that I started to incorporate, not for the ab crunches, but just for the plates, like the neck curls. Uh, when I first saw DJ Murakami do these, and it's pretty nice. It's a pretty interesting touch to the movement, and I've been playing with it for the past couple of weeks. As you know, I do rotate exercises when it comes to these small isolations, so this is the one I've been playing with right now. I'll probably swap for something a bit more thoracic spine involved next time around. And after that, we do the usual bridge warm up. So this is the usual superset. The bridge warm ups have been going better this time around. I also like to bend my spine, like I guess round my spine before I bend my spine. Going both directions always sounds like a good idea to me. Balance is right in the middle, right? So perform a bit of everything. Yeah, this was my first bridge of the day and it was pretty good. So I think that goes to show that the bridges, like the active range, is getting better and better with time. Anyways, now we move on to the next section. Bye bye. And now for this week's dose of somewhat cohesive scattered thoughts. Today is a really long one, so bear with me. I was having a really tough time finding the creativity to approach the topic that I thought of writing about this week. And out of nowhere, as I started to write closer and closer to my set deadline, I found more and more things to write about it, and I just had fun exploring the topic. I ended just a little while ago, and this is also the reason why the videos will be releasing on Wednesday rather than the usual Monday. Sometimes it's tough to write so systematically, but I think it's a good kind of tough. It's I don't know, it forces me to be to confront my like frozen mentality when it comes to writing, and I think that's ultimately a good thing. Okay, that said, let's get into it. Work capacity. Tolerance to volume is one of humanity's greatest physical attributes, and a trait that is extremely common in past generations. However, as time does its magic and as we become increasingly domesticated by our modern environment, our resistance to volume decreases at drastic rates. Wild regimes of physical activity often prescribe anywhere from 4 to 8 hours of moderate intensity physical activity, and are frequently targeted at professional athletes of a given sport, but such regimens would be considered banal or even soft by older volume standards. Elite physical performance nowadays does respect volume, and that is the reason why such training splits are a thing. However, amongst the commoners who lack state backup and high quality facilities, it is becoming increasingly rarer to understand the need for volume. People move little, and the training plans are designed for that target audience. The simple reasoning being, if you make a sedentary human being transition into high physical activity levels, he's surely gonna undergo a significant period of underperforming. And the modern take ends there, because extremely high volumes would result in under recovery. It is deemed unproductive, and the common solution is to stick to what an individual can realistically and reliably recover from. After all, meaningful progress is a result of successful adaptation, and excessive volume would only hinder recovery processes. The point I wish to make is, what if one looks beyond the temporary, sorry about all the mistakes, period of underperformance? Because regardless of duration, it is certainly a temporary period. The human body has absurd adaptation capabilities, to the point where it will adapt to malfunctioning if exposed to enough of a reason for a meaningful period of time. A prime example of this would be the shortening of the Achilles tendon in females whose work wear involves high heels. Due to the modern work schedule, this involves around 8 to 10 hours of exposure to shoe wear a day, to that specific shoe wear, every single day, 5 days a week, maybe 6. And the body gradually adapts to these circumstances regardless of whether or not these adaptations will suit other scenarios. This is the case for adaptation in general. The furry polar bear couldn't care less about how bothersome his fur would be were he to vacate to South Africa. The point is that the fur is useful right now. Back from the bear to the modern woman, the adaptation at hand means these ladies will have a hard time walking barefoot, for example, due to the immense stretch of the tendon, which, were it not for the adaptation to the high heels, would have been a banal resting position for the foot. This small detour is meant to illustrate my point when it comes to extremely high volume. The human body has immense adaptation capabilities, and it is possible that it would adapt to rigorous training regimens involving absurd amounts of volume, provided it's given enough time for the adaptation to take place and enough of a reason. The reason in this case being the absurd volume values. However, said adaptation would certainly be accompanied by unpleasant in-between processes that could be fairly serious, like significant drops in performance due to being under-recovered, overuse injuries due to high levels of joint inflammations, and mental fatigue and disappointment that could lead to one dropping movement practice altogether. I just wish to discuss that it is theoretically possible to come out on top by the end of the process if one were to successfully endure all those temporary adaptation setbacks, which can range in time duration and I imagine have a painfully wide range anywhere from months to years. A common story on the subject is one I'll paraphrase: the story of an Olympic weightlifter who was boringly mediocre and became a gold medalist upon successfully adapting to the sadistic 300 snatches a day program. For a long time, his performance continued to drop as fatigue piled up and recoverability became increasingly compromised. But he persistently and somewhat mindlessly followed through, and eventually, in an agonizing long time, his numbers started going up until he reached his old best lifts, and shortly thereafter until his old weight served but as a warm-up. To conclude, I would like to state that I could probably never do this. I don't believe I have the mental toughness necessary to endure potentially years of worsening performance. I would likely succumb to anxiety and worry, lose faith in the adaptation process, and spill my wheels. I believe that a modest, slow and steady approach is what's currently the best option for my present timid self, and hence it is what I practice. But I still do admire the simple volume approach, and I look up to those strong minded old human beings who could put their head down and do the work. Lots of it, like it was nothing. They were undoubtedly tough, and I can only hope to reach such heights someday. Sincerely,